Next is going to be the Flying Dragonfly, and I've put him up here on the right. We're using the FS01 thread, so the quite variegated greeny red thread, and we're going to do along the body a trailing stitch. So that means you've got in one needle 2 strands. So I've threaded up 2 strands and I've brought it out just below the head here, and we're going to couch that down with another strand. So once you've brought your 2 strands up, you don't need that needle anymore, and just bring one up and then take it to one side and go down into the same hole as you came up. So move from side to side, and we're going to make these stitches next to each other. So move it from side to side so that you can see where you're going. So come up on the line just next to the previous stitch, and you're aiming to go into the same hole, but don't get too concerned about it. So move it to one side and then the other so that you can see. Now as a right hander, I'm coming up on the left or at the bottom and going down on the right. If you're left-handed, you may feel it's more natural to do it the other way, but it doesn't matter, whichever feels more natural to you. So I'll continue. I'm almost done, and you can see that mine's ended up with mainly a sort of bluish green body, but I've got a tiny bit of red at the end, which is rather nice. So have a think about the colours. You can engineer them if you wish. And then the 2 threads that you've been covering, thread those up again and go down into the end of that tail, into the fabric, and finish off at the back. By the way, just a word about the threads. I've got that much left from my trailing stitch, and please keep these sort of lengths. They're very useful for odd little bits and pieces, and this is silk, so don't throw away lengths like that. Just keep them to one side until you need to do a little bit with those. That in itself would have been enough for the trailing. Now we're going to do the wings next in the same colour. So come up at the end of one of the wings, and we're going to do a split back stitch first. So if you remember, that's take a stitch and then come up through it, and we're going to go all the way around the edge of all of the wings, and then we're going to cover those with a long and short stitch, which I'm going to show you on the other hoop first, on the sort of practice hoop. Now if you find this stitch difficult to do, as I mentioned before, just come up and go into the end of the stitch instead. You will use more thread that way, but you can do it like that. So next is the long and short stitch. Before we try long and short stitch on the dragonfly wings, I thought it would be a good idea to have a go on the practice hoop. So I've stitched a line of split back stitch here, and if you imagine, this is going to be my shape just here, but I haven't done the whole shape, just one line. So I want to do long and short stitch up to this line, and we're going to start in the middle and take a stitch down outside of the split back stitch, and that will be my long stitch. And then I'm going to do a shorter stitch. The stitches can be of different lengths, but you want a long and a shorter one on the first row. So take it again to the outside of your split back stitch, and then we want a longer one again to the outside. This gives a neater edge if you do a split back stitch, and then a shorter one. That's maybe a 3/4 length. You can do them between 1/2 and 3/4 of the length of the longer ones, but the longer ones can vary as well. It's better if they do, in fact. So don't get your tape measure out. Short and a long one. And you would usually start in the centre of a shape. And then I would go, take my thread along the back and start again at the other side. Like that. And then for my second row, I'll come up again in the middle, but very closer than you would think to my split back stitch outline, and then take a long stitch down. And then I'll come up a bit further down and take another long stitch down. So all your stitches are long stitches now, but they're of different lengths. I'm coming up then very close to my outline and taking a long stitch down, and then a bit further away and taking one down. So this edge here is still jagged. And you would continue like that. So if you were to do a third row, you'd come up about there and then continue down. So let's have a look on the wing itself. I've outlined my wings in the split back stitch, and now I've come up at the middle in the centre, so equidistant really between the two ends, using the same colour, and I'm going to take the first long stitch outside of my split back stitch, and then the next one is going to be a bit shorter but come up very close to, and again to the outside. Next one's going to be longer. Now I'm almost going to put that one at the tip of the previous one, the previous long stitch, because I want to angle it a little bit around, so like that. And then the next one will be a shorter one, and then a longer one. Again, I'm trying to angle it around a bit. Maybe one more shorter one, like that. And then take your thread to the other side, and a short one, and then a long one, a shorter one, and then a long one, maybe one more shorter one I'll sneak in there. And then on my second row, I'm going to come up right at the top here and take a long one all the way down, and then I'm going to go a little bit further in and I'm going to go all the way down. I can't go any further, so all the way down. Try and cover your split backstitch outline on these edges here. Now you want this top edge to be jagged. So on the other side of the first stitch now, a bit further down, take it all the way down and then come right up to the top, take it all the way down, then a bit further down, and I'm just going to do another one to cover this outline here. There you go. Now you're going to get some heavily variegated coloured wings. If you're bothered about matching them up either side, then look at which colours you've got on your thread. I'm not going to worry so much about that, and we'll see how it turns out. So I'm going to do the other wings now, and then I'll return and we'll do the head. I've got the grey silk again now, and we're going to just do a little bit of a body, but leave a space there for the head. Again in satin stitch, so come up in the middle of the shape and just put a few stitches, always going in the same direction, to cover that little bit there. And now the other side. I think that'll do, and we're going to add some antennae in a minute in the same colour. So let's do the French knot now. Now this French knot is going to be quite large for the head. I'm going to do 4 wraps, and I want it to be red, so I've got a little bit of red showing there. So hold the thread in your left hand and wrap it around the needle 4 times, and then you're going to put the needle down, keeping the thread taut in your left hand. The knot is formed on the needle, and take the needle through. Let me just do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then form the knot on the needle and take it through. If you were left-handed, you would just do it the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and form the knot on the needle and take it through. So let me just take the thread through now. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Form the knot on the needle. Make sure the head is next to the body and pull through. And that's your head. And now we're going to put some antennae in, just some straight stitches here and here. And we'll do a few little birds in the sky as well. So this is really quite straightforward, just a straight stitch coming out from the head, like that. Then finish off. And if you want to put some birds in the background, they're meant to be far away, then you can do, and you do that with a fly stitch. So come up on the left, go down on the right a bit further away, so the right hand stitch is going to be smaller, and then come up there. So, and then take a stitch down. So that looks like, well, it looks like a bird, or it's supposed to be. Finish that one off before you go to the next one. So let's go and have them going in the same direction, like that. And this is obviously completely optional. If you're left-handed, you would do your stitch on the other side. So there we go. Perhaps they look like geese. I don't know, but that's optional. So we're now going to do the centipede.